It was a cool place. It's still cool, but it was I left. Basically, I left in '94 and then came back after I graduated college and was there for like 3 years. And it completely changed with all the Microsoft money. So and now it's all the Amazon money. So
definitely.
So it's not what I'm used to. So I just kind of say, well, many moons ago.
Yeah.
Jason, I need you to go live because I can't go live on.
You have to make me host again. Oh, I am host. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, send this live here. So how it works is, if you watched the show before, we just do a quick roundup for the games, and then we'll bring you on as quickly as we can, and just have a basic chat with you. And we've been getting a lot of people live watching us, so they might have some questions, or at least give you some shit. So.
All right, I'm ready. Bring it.
Cool. All right. So make us live here.
How are you doing, Marina?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's going to be great. We look forward to this one.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
As soon as we're live, we'll get started.
Sweet.
Cool. So before we start, pickleball. Do you play pickleball? You grew up in the Northwest.
I've never played pickleball. No, I've always wondered what is this a Northwest thing?
It's because you're not 65 years old.
Potentially.
It's like giant ping pong.
I mean, that sounds like something I'd be into.
So but it started in Seattle. So it was back in like the early 70s. They kind of have randomly like, oh, we don't actually have a tennis, like the tennis court they first played on, and then kind of modified from there. But it's one of those things where I talked to everyone in Northwest, like, pickleball. Yeah, I love pickleball.
I mean, I love pickles and I love sports, so.
John's like, you
match
play
made in heaven.
Really weird games in Seattle. So.
Hey, it's either that or you're a serial killer in Seattle, it seems like, so I'll take that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we had Ted Bundy as well too. So not much we can do about that. All right. Okay, we're going live here.
It was such a charm.
I can't believe they actually figured it out. There we go. They actually solved the mystery. That was amazing. I mean, we knew, like, we're thinking the Green River murder. Either way, what a way to start the podcast and talking about murders.
Serial killers.
So anyway, hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, the Scottish Baseball Podcast. I'm John McKellar.
And I'm Jason Durr, former league president and Baseball Scotland Hall of Famer.
Jason, we've wrapped up the regular season in Baseball Scotland for this year. We have one more week of games, a couple of make-up games that the Glasgow teams have to play still. So we've got a pretty amazing weekend of baseball to look back on, a few really good results, and one in particular, a milestone for the Tayport Breakers. On that note, we are joined by Tayport Breakers Marina DeAngelis tonight.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us, Marina. It's a pleasure to have you on. We're going to have an in-depth chat about your time in Scotland, how you came here, and your time playing baseball across both here and back home. But before we do, Jason, let's get fired into the final weekend of the regular season and the scores.
Great. So I've got the report from the Devils Cannon game. I said Cannons jumped out to an early lead of 2-0 there. The game was tight. Sylvan started for the Devils and Harris was on the mound for the Cannons. The couple got their 2 runs on a couple of errors by the Devils, but the bottom of the fourth, the Devils made some contact, made some, there were some defensive miscues. So ended up scoring 3 runs that inning with the final score 3-2 to Devils. And I said Kyle for MVP this year with his performance on the mound. So we'll see. I think we're having a vote for what's going to happen there. So interesting one. I didn't, the Devils didn't let the Cannons just, take the easy win and let them take second place. It would look like it was a hard-fought battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of the back of what you said about Kyle there, I don't know that there's many who have a claim to MVP. outside of Kyle this year. If he's pitched as well as he has for the Diamond Devils this year, obviously he's been a massive part of their championship winning team this season. I mean, you've known him a hell of a lot longer than I have. I think Kyle has always had the talent and the ability, and like you've covered previously on the podcast, getting the focus was always kind of the only step he was away from becoming a really top player in this country.
Yeah, I don't know how much he's on the wacky backy, but I think that might have helped as well too.
Allegedly.
So allegedly, we don't know what's going on there, but yeah, it looks like he put it all together there. I hopefully this continues of that. I mean, if maybe it's just a bit of maturity thing, and he's just grown up more now and can be focused more. It's great to see that we were able to put it all together for a season for him.
For sure, yeah. I'm really happy for Kyle because as we've kind of touched on, he's been around for a very long time. You've known him longer than I have. I've been in the league nearly 10 years now. So it's great to see him start to really fully realise the potential he's always had. In the past, when he's had run into some tricky situations, a few men on base, he had a bit of a tendency to maybe not come through. He would kind of lose his nerve a bit. But this year he's definitely put an end to that. And I've seen it personally once or twice in games. So again, MVP is going to be a tight race this year from a batting standpoint, but from an overall MVP, I think you have to probably give the nod to Kyle at this point.
Sounds like a plan. I said I don't know who anyone else has a bigger claim than Kyle at the moment. So who knows? I said if we count the Caledonian Cup, that somebody might catch fire in that way, and that might be a way to sway the judges at the end or the people that vote. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, over 11 weeks of pure consistency, it has to go to Kyle, I think, from an MVP standpoint. Let's move to Glasgow, where the Comets and Galaxy had the final derby of the regular season. It was the Galaxy who ran out very close winners. It was a final score of 2-1, which I think has to be the tightest scoreline that we've seen in a very long time in Scottish baseball. We've seen a 3-1 before in this fixture this season, and even a 3-2, I think, in a development game, but a 2-1 game, that's almost unheard of in Scotland.
You know what? That just shows you the level of talent we're playing with now. You normally had football scores, and I mean NFL scores. We're talking 21-14, 14-10, and a 2-1 game here, and it just shows you the level of playing is off the charts for us at the moment. This is probably the best league-wide ball we're playing across the board this century. Let's go that far.
It has to be, since I started, at least that's almost a decade ago now. So yeah, by far the most competitive season of Scottish baseball that we've seen. Now, you did mention NFL football scores, and we do have one. The Tayport Breakers on the last day picked up the first win, a 16-1 victory over the Aberdeen Oilers. We've got one of the Breakers here. Unfortunately, Marina, you weren't able to make it to the game, but let's fire over to you. And have you heard anything from the guys about how Sunday went? How did they manage to put it together and pick up not just their first win, but a massive scoreline to go with it?
Yeah, well, from what I heard, like you said, I wasn't there, and I was so gutted because I would have loved to see that and be a part of it, but so happy for the guys. From what I heard, it was just everything came together. I don't think there were any errors on the day, so defense was tight, which is awesome. Something that we've been working on is kind of shutting down when we make errors, not make errors on top of that, but even better if we just don't make one error in the first place. We'll take that. I think pitching was great as well, definitely on ball, and people were hitting the ball, and people were getting clutch hits as well, and batters that have been working on stuff throughout the season just kept getting hotter and hotter. So I think everything just came together for the last game, which was amazing to see.
That is fantastic. I've been kind of saying it on the podcast over the course of the year, that it was only ever going to be a matter of time before Tayport eventually won one. You guys have been putting bat on ball really quite consistently over the course of the season. The pitching staff has ranged from good to solid, or solid to good. I think that obviously with the addition of Shin Yen late on, I think that this could be we discussed this last week, Jason. This particular pickup could be the one that takes you guys over that kind of mark of like let's kick on from here, and obviously this will probably bode better for in the immediate sense the Caledonia Cup tournament, which is coming up in just the next couple of weeks, but more so next season and moving forward from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we need to come up with a nickname for Xing Yan, because I don't think he actually has one, but he's got to be the professor now. And since he's up there, be the professor up there. It sounds like he put on a clinic when he was up there on this weekend.
God.
So he's now the professor. So Xing Yan, if you're watching, that's your new nickname, buddy. Enjoy.
Dr. Shin. So yeah, that was the scoreline. That was the scores for this past Sunday, the 29th of August. Let's take a wee quick look at the final standings. Final standings in inverted commas. We have one last week of make-up games to go, but at the end of the regular season, the Scottish National Baseball League was won by the Diamond Devils quite comfortably. They finished the season 10-1. The Comets and Cannons have a make-up game to come up this coming Sunday, so that game will determine who finishes in second place this season. It's both teams on matching 6-4 records. One team will end the season 7-4. One will end the season 6-5, and whichever team wins that will get a bye into through the first round of the Caledonia Club. Through the first round of the Caledonia Classic. Managed to get it out eventually. Sorry, I just ate a whisper gold. No.
It's stuck in your back of your throat.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting weekend, because a lot rides on this game this weekend there. Do you get a bye? Do you not get a bye?
Yeah.
And then of course, if Edinburgh wins, what happens the second round when both teams are supposed to be played in Edinburgh? So it could be really interesting how this all works out.
Yeah, it could be very intriguing how that's going to be scheduled by Paul if that does come to pass. But for the rest of the standings, we've got the 4 and 6 Galaxy and Oilers. So those guys are playing for a seed as well this weekend. They're both at 4 and 6. They've got a make-up game to go. So one of those teams is going to finish 5 and 6 and end up the season in 4th place. The other, of course, will end up the season 4 and 7 and end in 5th. And obviously, the Breakers finished last place this year, but it's great to finally see a crooked number in that win column.
Absolutely. We're so pleased for you guys. You got your final win on the last game of the season, and a solid one as well.
So with that in mind, let's move on to an interview with Marina.
Before we go, we got something to announce. We got a big announcement for tomorrow. Did you forget about that?
We'll announce it at the end of the show.
Well, yeah, but then people are watching now, and we'll announce it at the end of the show as well, too. So we've got a special guest tomorrow. We have Ren Quantrill of the GB under 23s coming on for our lunchtime show tomorrow, 1 o'clock. We'll be announcing again after the show as well. But while we have everyone watching now, we'll be doing a lunchtime show with Ren. And so if you have any questions how things went at Team GB the last weekend, please join us from then.
Absolutely. It was going to be exciting to chat to Ren. We had him on the show quite a while back. I think it was the start of 2020 when we were gearing up for the season that wasn't. He was on with Rory. It's going to be nice to chat to Ren again after about a year and a half or so of his exploits. Since then, obviously, he hasn't played a lot of Scottish National League baseball because he's had the somewhat bigger fish to fry recently, Jason, with his GB under 23 shenanigans, a BS UK Player of the Week honours just a few weeks back. And so he's been a busy boy and he's been doing quite well at it.
Absolutely. So we're excited to have Ren on. He's currently in quarantine for the next 10 days. So it's a perfect time to have him on the show because he's got nothing to do.
Now, I don't know if your mother ever told you that, but my mother always told me not to keep a lady waiting, Jason. So that's why
Well, there's quite a few comments already there. So I don't know if Marina's been following the feed here to see who's commenting, but you've got Uncle Mike and Ryan from Phoenix have already said hello there.
No way.
And Auntie Tina says hello too. So they want let's
I got the whole family. How do I see the comments?
You gotta watch on Facebook there, but just make sure you mute it. Otherwise, you'll get the feedback of our conversation 10 seconds later.
Yeah. So, Jason, you're the host here. Are you able to ban people? Because Stephen Loudon's giving me jip about the A's beating the Yankees and in the street. So get him to fuck. Panda says congrats to Tayport and Marina DeAngelis and her cousin Marina, great job from Uncle Mike and Ryan Phoenix. Paul Convoy seems shocked about something.
Yes, because he's gonna have to figure out if Edinburgh wins how you're gonna have the second round in Edinburgh over the weekend. That's what.
Mickey Tarian Walton. I love that name, Mickey Tarian. Fantastic. I will call him Henrik. Well done, Breakers. Argentina. Ivan Hernandez. Whoever ends third will have their hands full playing Tayport. I completely agree with that. I agree completely, Ivan. Particularly with how they will be buoyed by this past Sunday. And finally getting that first one on the board. So Marina, let's get to you finally. Thank you so very much again for joining the show. We usually like to start with we usually start basically at the beginning. Where did you come from originally, and how did you end up in Scotland first off?
Yeah, so I'm from close enough to Vancouver in Canada. Played baseball in my life there. It's kind of what I love doing, and came over to Scotland January 2019 for physiotherapy school. And before I moved over, I just wanted to see if there was baseball in Scotland. I had no idea. I was like, oh no, am I gonna have to play cricket? I have no idea the rules. So thank God I found Aberdeen and the teams there, and yeah, just got in contact with the coaches. So yeah, I couldn't be happier.
So when you were growing up, did you play baseball? Was there baseball for you? Because I said I've talked to various people out that way. One of my favorite artists is Lauren Taylor, who is from the Orcas Islands and settled in Vancouver there. And she played softball because obviously we're a little bit older than you. And there wasn't baseball for women at that point in time. So she played for as long as she could before switching to fast pitch. So
right. Well, I was lucky enough. So I played North Delta minor baseball growing up. So there was a couple girls that played with me, but then kind of dropped off. And then I ended up being the only girl on the team for a while. In high school, I had a baseball academy, which was amazing. When I was in grade 9, about 14 years old, they started a baseball academy. So I joined that right away because we had a baseball field right at my high school. So got involved in that. And about that time, I found out that there was a provincial women's baseball team, because I had no idea that there were other girls in the province playing the sport as well. Just because I wouldn't see them, I only played within my group. So when I found out there is an option to play with women, I was like, oh, of course, let me do that. So I joined the BC women's team, I guess, yeah, but when I was 14 or so, I guess 2009-ish. And pretty much have played with them ever since when I've been in Canada. And then when I went to college, I had to make that decision. I want to play baseball. Do I want to play softball? Probably not going to manage to play baseball in college, but I dabbled in softball when I was younger as well, just kind of playing here and there, just seeing, oh, do I like it? Do I not like it? But I decided it was nice to play with females as well. And I ended up playing for Douglas College softball for 2 years, and then switched over to Simon Fraser, which is a Div 2 softball university in Burnaby in Canada as well. So that was the only Canadian NCAA school, which is kind of cool. So we'd play against all the teams in the States. So yeah, I did a bit of both for sure, but my heart's always kind of been with baseball.
So how far would you travel for these things? I mean, everyone complains about these 3-hour, bus, or not even a bus ride, car rides from say Aberdeen to Edinburgh, Glasgow. And back in the day, we used to do these 5-hour drives to Liverpool and Hull and all that there. How long were your travels when you had to play baseball? Because I don't think anyone appreciates how long these rides are.
Oh yeah, I mean, both my colleges, when I played at Douglas College and Simon Fraser, we were the only Canadian schools in the division. So all of our games would be across the border unless we had a home game. So that takes in border weights into account, and grab your passports and grab your snacks and everything. So, I mean, they ranged from maybe closest school was 3 hours away, maybe farthest school was about a 12-hour bus ride. So I think I had to play Montana once. And yeah, it was just, you're just living in a bus for pretty much your whole spring.
And I can attest, there's nothing to see in that drive all the way from the West Coast to Montana. That is just a lot of
just sleeping. Yeah, put some good tunes on. Yep.
So Marina, you touched earlier on how you were largely involved in co-ed in the kind of early days. You did have a few more female teammates, but then they kind of dropped off, like you mentioned. You have indicated a couple of times as well that you really quite enjoyed being able to play all women's baseball and softball. How do you feel that has prepared you for how things are played over here? Obviously, we now have a wee bit more of a dedicated women's game, but that's still very much in its infancy. And with the COVID pandemic and everything, progress here has been a bit slower than I think we would all like. How do you feel that's set you up for largely male teams when you've come over here?
I think first off, it's a great environment over here. Like, everyone is so open and so welcoming to playing with females, which is awesome. I feel like growing up, obviously, you can imagine going through teenage years and being the only girl on the team, you get chirped a little bit, and you can imagine the stigmas and everything. People thinking, oh, the girl's up to bat. Oh, everyone infield move or outfield move in, and you get all of that kind of stuff growing up. So I think kind of it hardens you a little bit, and I think it's different playing with females that played baseball in British Columbia, because they all had similar experiences to that as well. They were kind of all the only girls on their team, and getting, that same kind of experience that builds them up and makes them a little bit tougher on the outside. So when it was coming together with that women's BC team, it was kind of that nice shared experience, and everyone kind of knew where everyone came from, even though you didn't grow up with these people. On the other hand, playing softball is different because they grew up playing with girls, whereas I grew up playing with guys. So it was almost that different kind of culture shock for me. Softball being a little bit different, kind of girls doing their hair all nicely, and me just coming in all scruffy, like, oh, let's play, just dirty baseball pants and everything. Like, and so that was a bit of a culture shock for me, just from baseball to softball within Canada. But yeah, fun coming to Scotland. I mean, it's such a good environment, and everyone is so opening and so welcome, which just makes it great for anybody new that wanting to try the sport, whether they're female or male. I mean, I can't ask for anything better. And I think it's a really good opportunity for people that want to try out the sport and might be a little bit more kind of unsure, like, am I new to this, or, is everyone going to judge me? I feel like there's none of that. Everyone is so open and so welcoming. So it's really good to see more female join the sport as well, just because of that good environment, I think.
Yeah, and I know that you're kind of seen as a kind of a standard that a lot of the females who play the game in Scotland look at and want to aspire to. I know that Fiona has talked about that previously on the show.
Oh, that's really nice. Thanks.
So, are you aware of that? And if so, how much importance do you place on that responsibility?
I wouldn't say I'm really aware of that. It's really flattering to hear. I guess I know just in general, like, I do have a lot of experience in the sport, just playing it growing up. So from that standpoint, it's really nice to know that people kind of would want to look up to me or any way, or ask questions, or feel like they can come to me if they have any issues or anything. I think that's a really nice honor to have. And I think it gives me, it does give me kind of a responsibility with the women's side of things as well, because I've been approached by different people asking about kind of, playing for teams, or kind of getting stuff together, or my thoughts and opinions on women's programs. So I do appreciate that people are asking me that stuff, because I do feel that I have quite a bit to say about it. And if anybody wants to ask me anything about that, please do.
So before we dive a bit deeper into your time playing in Scotland, we haven't really heard too much about the status of the women's programme. Are you able to give us an update on where that's at the moment? Is you guys expecting to play a full season or anything resembling that next year?
Yeah, I can't speak much to that, to be honest. I know they were trying to get some games together this year. They've got the Thistles up in Aberdeen, and then the Nomad team, which was supposed to be a team just made up of other women not having like a home base, I guess. But that didn't really come to fruition. I'm not entirely sure if that was just kind of a numbers problem, or that I can assume just the amount of women playing and the ability to field two teams might be a little bit difficult in that sense. But I think possibly for next year, I know Jason in Tayport is looking into getting more women involved as well. Like, he's really big supportive of that. So if there's a possibility, maybe even, I don't know if anyone's kind of spoken about this or even thrown this into the air, but if there's enough women between the Aberdeen and Tayport areas, they're kind of closer together, and even starting practicing between those two areas might be kind of a good place to start as well, because I think we just need more numbers right now.
Yeah, that seems to, I think that's been an issue with women in the sport pretty much since this league has existed, is just the interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in my own home province of British Columbia, like, we've got a really good core team of women playing, but there's still throughout the whole province, and British Columbia is quite large as well. You don't have that many women playing in comparison to the whole province. So it is difficult to get that numbers together, but that's just going to be just recruiting and getting the word out, and getting more people practicing.
So I'm curious, Marina, do you think this is because there's not a natural pathway for women to get into baseball? Again, like you said, there's a stigma going, okay, I've started playing baseball as my youth, and as you get older and older, most women just transition into fast pitch because it's just easier that way. Instead of going, you know what, I actually really like baseball. I just don't want to put up the shit that I get from the guys.
I think that's a really good question. I think in Scotland, well, to my understanding, it's obviously there's not as much baseball here as there is in Canada. Like, you hear about it a lot. That's like one of the core games that kids play growing up. Whereas here, is probably not much kind of ingrained into the full culture. It's more like, football and rugby and kind of stuff along those lines. So in that regards, it's probably not as well known about in the youth. And I think that's where you have to start with baseball, is with the youth. And it's so amazing that we've got so many youth programs coming up. We've got great turnouts for the Tayport, the Crushers. And I know in Aberdeen, they have a really good youth program as well. So I think if I had to say, growing up, like as a youth in Scotland playing baseball, I think you would kind of avoid a lot of that kind of stigma that comes with being that only girl on the team thing, just because there's such a good community and everyone's so open and willing to learn the sport, and it's everyone kind of coming together and growing up through the sport together. And I think if you don't start that kind of, ooh, only girl, weird. If that never starts, then they'll probably never really have to face it, and they'll just grow up playing the sport. And I think if we can get enough young girls starting to play from a younger age, I think that'll really help to build up the program. But obviously that's years in the making, but it's my 2 cents.
You got to start somewhere. Absolutely. I know we've tried to get the youth program going, and it's always hard to get people to come back and back and back. But, there's always a few that always like, I stuck with it and stayed with it throughout the years. But yeah, it's going to reach somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a tricky sport to pick up as an adult. But it's just, again, it's the greatest community ever. So there's all the time in the world to kind of learn and practice and grow in the sport, which I really commend everyone for.
Perfect. Yeah, I know that in Glasgow they do have a youth program that's kind of still in its early days, and I've been over there a couple of times with Danny Quinn before we've headed off to National League games, and there are quite a few young girls who are showing up to that. Whether how consistently that's the case, I'm not sure, but a couple of times I've been there, and there's definitely been a good mix of boys and girls. So hopefully, what you're saying will come to fruition in the next few years, where we'll start to see a better pathway for children of any persuasion or gender to be able to come into the game and feel part of the community from day one, without that kind of awkwardness of the kind of first kid, the new kid's first day in school vibe that goes on. Let's move on from that then, Marina, to your time playing in Scotland. You arrived in the UK, like you said, at the start of 2019. Your arrival coincided with the arrival of a brand new team, the Aberdeen Express, which you were then assigned to. Tell me about the process of coming to your first few training sessions and how you became a member of the Express.
Yeah, well, I'd started talking to the coaches. I think I was talking to Stephen and Jared at the time before I'd even moved over to Scotland, just asking, I Googled this team. Do you think I could play on it? And they're like, oh yeah, like come on over. So I met them at the pub, I think like the second day I got into Scotland, super nervous, not knowing anybody there. And I didn't like know what they looked like. It's like, do you play baseball? Are you the guy I'm looking for? So yeah, basically just had a couple pints and had some good chats. And Jared basically said, you're going to be a pitcher, by the way. I looked at him like, oh, fat chance that's going to happen. And lo and behold, a couple months later, I was pitching for the team. And it was so great. I felt such a good sense of community on that team right from like the first practice. So cool seeing people from all over the world somehow come together in Aberdeen, whether it be for work or for school. But the one thing that united everyone was just the love of baseball. And yeah, that really stuck with me. So yeah, I clicked with them quite quick.
You a pitcher from the start, or did they say, no, you know what, you have years of experience to play baseball, so you're going on the hill?
Basically, yeah. They told me if I could throw a ball relatively straight in a target, and I've played the sport for a good few years, yeah, I'm probably going to pitch. So I didn't believe them at first, but yeah, they persuaded me.
So you guys on the Express, you had an absolutely electric inaugural season in 2019. You finished in the top three. your first year. However, obviously, after the COVID pandemic last year and into this year, the Express have, for the time being, been sort of kiboshed. Were you pissed at that decision in any way, or obviously with you moving to Tayport by that point, was that something that you weren't overly fussed by? But you guys put on a hell of a lot of effort to build that team up from nothing, and then obviously for it to go away after just one season, did that hurt you in any way?
Yeah, it was obviously well, it was such a great season and ending on such a high note, even though we lost in the finals. It was still such a nice run to the end. Like we were on quite a good of a winning streak there. So it was such a great season and everyone's so much fun. But it was a shame to see the team fizzle out. And I think it's just because of numbers. A lot of people left the team. I know I was having some talks with the coaches as well, if I would stay with the Express and just kind of transit every week and just play with them. But I think ultimately the decision came that we wouldn't have enough players regardless. So just amalgamate into the one team back into the Oilers. But I would love to see the Express come back because I think the jerseys were pretty sweet. We had a great team. It was a lot of fun. So
see, that's funny you mentioned it because I was going to ask. You've got 2 uniforms now. Which one do you like better? So.
Oh, you can't be asking me that. I'm not going to go there.
I
got my Tayport hat right here. You can see. I wore a neutral shirt today. I don't know if it's backwards on this.
I would have to say the Express uniform is just about shade it. As an impartial third party, I like the green and the gold.
Yeah.
So you just played into Stephen Loudon's hands now.
What
team's green and gold?
Right,
what team's green and gold? Yeah. Stevie's not gonna let you leave that one down now. No, I like.
He's banned. He's banned. He's not allowed to come back.
I like both uniforms as well. So I was just curious if you had one you lean to the other, and we won't go there in that one. So
all you guys need to do is get yourself some sky blue.
Oh, this sky blue is pretty sweet. I'll give you that.
So let's move on from 2019 then. We've seen the Express come out of nowhere, have a really good season and a dominant run, like you said, in the stretch into the Caledonia Classic. Lost a nail biter. It was pretty much down to the wire in that Caledonia Classic final. 2020 comes, we're all getting ready for the new season, and then it just doesn't happen. In the process, in between that and 2021, you've moved over to Dundee. You're now playing with Tayport. Talk us through your first season as a breaker. Obviously, it's the inaugural season for the team. So you've experienced that in back-to-back seasons. And obviously, we've seen the standings. It's been very different vibes across the 2 years. Obviously, with the Express, really good season. With the Breakers, not the best record, but you guys every week have gone from strength to strength. And they have built one of in my opinion, the best ballpark in Scotland. So many strides in such a short time, or twice for yourself over the course of just over 2.5 years. Tell us about your first year as a breaker.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. It's a great team. Again, like I said, great people make the team. Jason's done a great job being a manager. He's the work he puts into it is just insane. Like he's there all the time, like on the field itself, recruiting, getting a backstop for us. He's just done an insane job. So props to him majorly because he does a great job of managing. Being with the Breakers as well, it's been great. Like, again, there's such a wide variety of players. A lot of the guys have been practicing for a couple of years, but have yet to play in a league game before. So that's a little bit different than what I was seeing in the Aberdeen team. Because when I came to the Express, although it was a new team, a lot of the guys had played on the Oilers before. So a lot of them had experience and they're coming over just starting with this new team. Whereas the Breakers is mostly people who have never actually played or a lot of them hadn't played in the league before. So I guess that was a bit of a difference and perhaps why we had a little bit of a slower start than what the Express had, but kind of picking it up together from the end. But I think we made a lot of improvements in the year. I think the bats were really slow at the start of the season for us. We just weren't getting on base. And we all know that's going to bite you in the butt in Scottish baseball. You need to score runs. So that was one thing we really worked on a lot of batting practice and stuff. A lot of guys put in extra work on weekends as well when they could, just batting practice stuff. So props to them as well. And it paid off because bats started to heat up a little bit near the end of the season and keeping it rolling into postseason, hopefully.
I have to
Yeah,
say
no.
your mom's cracking me up. She can't understand John, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just see these comments. Jeez.
So
Maybe
John,
I'll speak like this then, eh?
John, you speak less. I'll ask the questions from here on out.
Oh man.
Let's get bigger, eh?
So I would say let's go back to Aberdeen before we talk about that. Do you have a moment from your first year in Aberdeen that's been special for you that you remember from there?
Wow. A great question.
Oh, it's a crazy aunt. Sorry, that's your crazy aunt.
You gotta tell him to calm down. Guys, chill out over there. Chill out. I just remember there's this one, I think it was in the final game and I was pitching. And who was I pitching to? I think it was, I can't remember, but it was just like the longest at bat. Like the balls kept getting fouled off. I think there was like 16 pitches in that at bat at something. And I was like, this is the most fun I've had playing baseball in such a long time. Like it was just pure like pitcher versus batter, like in each other's minds. Where's the pitch gonna go? And yeah, I think he ended up getting a hit off me, but I was like, oh darn it, you deserve that. Like that was such a good good kind of battle back and forth, and that really stuck with me. And in the final game too, and I was just having the best time ever. Like this is why you play the sport. Just have some fun. There's also been so many just like hilarious moments from my first year in Aberdeen. Just things that happen on the base path that you
share
might
a few, because you just don't know what happens in baseball in Scotland. And you come over here and go, I had this kind of certain level that I expect baseball at, and then you realize what it is, and it's a level of going, I have guys that played minor league baseball, have guys that played college baseball, and have guys who just went back to Toronto and showed up and had to go, I have a glove. Yeah, I want to play baseball. And so it really is a wide variety there. So there's always the weird and wonderful that happens here.
Absolutely. The stuff like some of the hot boxes on the base paths have just sent me laughing. Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, it's just can't get anything better. It's so good. So much fun. But yeah, it was something that you have to realize playing the sport at one level, coming from Canada and playing at this level, and just understanding who you're playing with is a big thing as well. And it's a good learning experience.
Absolutely. I mean, it gives people something to strive to. And I think we really see it this year with the two developmental league and the normal league now, where people go, okay, right, I can get my reps in and see where I need to get to. I mean, we have the unfair advantage of having batting cages and, nice weather all summer long where you can go play catch with people. And you don't have to go and look at the weather and go, well, it's like an 80% chance of rain today, and we might get this game in, or we might get an inning in, but we've got to travel 2 hours regardless to the game.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a lot. That's what I said. Like, it's a thing I come to a lot, but baseball is so much simpler in Canada, I think, because everything's done for you. You don't have to set up your own fence. You don't have to set up your own backstop. It's just there. You don't have to do all this extra. So that's what I've always given props to people playing Scottish baseball, is because they just truly love the sport and they're going to put in that extra work just so they can throw a ball around. Whereas I think a lot of people from North America probably take that for granted just because it's so easy to play.
Absolutely.
They have everything at their hands. Yeah.
We get a lot of people who say it's like, you guys really play for the love of game out there. Like you said, you're giving up your Sunday. You're there at the field 3 hours beforehand to get everything set up.
Yeah.
You're trying to cobble your team together of who's available today, who could make it, who couldn't make it, and what position am I playing today?
Yeah. Literally 5 minutes before the first pitch is thrown. Yeah. What positions?
I think that's one of the unique things of baseball out here, is because, again, like you said, everyone's so passionate about it here and the community is so fantastic. So you don't mind those things there, and you have those good stories about everyone there, and it's just a lot of fun.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I love it.
All right, John, sorry, I'm going to let you go take over again.
So, yeah, it looks like there's a bit of aggro kicking off in the comments here. Auntie Tina has contested that she can read lips. So it looks like your mum and Auntie Tina, I hope we're not in the same room right now, is all I'm saying.
The thing is, there are subtitles here. Like, you get subtitles, at least I do on my phone.
Well, I mean, to call them subtitles is a bit generous, to be honest. Have you ever tried them? It's not very
Probably
good.
not for the Scottish accent, to be honest.
No, definitely not for a Scotsman. No, if you put subtitles, auto-generated subtitles on for a Scottish person, it's just going to come out gibberish. Which, I mean, I guess is probably fitting, really, more than anything. Couple of wee notes here that I've seen. Glasgow had a girls' baseball team back in the early 2000s, says Stephen Loudon. And a friend, Nick Clark, has said that Edinburgh had a ladies' team sponsored by Royal Mail back in 1990. Is that something you know anything about, Jason?
I don't, but you know what, Nick? We have Keith Grand coming on the show in the off season, and he's going to give us the update of what it was like back in the day, because I reached out to him and he said he still has some of those league brochures from back in the early 90s there. So hopefully he can fill in more about that, or you guys can both come on and chat all about playing baseball in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marina, let's close up the interview section with the future. What does the future hold for the Tayport Breakers? What are you guys' goals, and what do you expect and your expectations for next season and beyond? And what do you personally want to see and achieve with the next couple of years of your play?
I think the Tayport Breakers are on the up and up. I mean, Jason, like I said, is just a maniac with recruiting. He's awesome. We've got all these flyers and posters, and I think the turnouts that we're going to get at practices for the next season are going to be really good. Seeing who's interested in the sport, and we've got a couple late pickups as well, so that's going to be really nice to actually work with them throughout the season, leading up to the season as well. And like I'd mentioned before, I think we're going to look more into something with the women's team, whether that's just kind of doing some practices just with the women there, or kind of integrating them into the normal practices. Not sure what that's going to look like, but hopefully get some better turnouts there. Something more focused at kind of a women's team of sorts. But yeah, I think Tayport's going to do quite well, and I think we're going to have a good interest in the sport in Dundee for sure, and in the Tayport area. So excited to see what that brings. For myself, well, I feel like one thing that I've noticed upon coming from Canada to here is that I've taken on more of that coaching role. So I haven't really gotten much time to work on my personal development in the sport, which is something that was a little tough to come to grips with at first. I'm like, I want the reps, I want grounders, like, Rrr. But so I've just had to change my mindset a little bit and kind of focus more on helping others with the sport, and kind of leading more to kind of passing my knowledge on to others and helping them when they need little tips and stuff. So I really do enjoy that portion of coaching, and I think I can get better at that, because it's not something that I've done a lot of. Back in Canada, some of my BC teammates started a girls program as well, and they're coaching that, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that for one season before I moved over. So I just have a little bit of coaching experience there, but I think I can get more involved and kind of start making some better practice plans and stuff, and really getting improving my coaching skills, I suppose.
Do you see that as being your long-term future in the game, transitioning into full-time coaching?
I mean, I still love playing the game. Like, I can't lie and say I don't want to be out there. So that's the issue. It's like a push and pull for me. It's like, I know I do have a lot to offer in a coaching role, because I think I do have some decent knowledge I can pass on to other players. So whether that be separate kind of coaching sessions, maybe with the women's team, and then I still play, in the normal league, maybe something with that, but I can't see myself ever stopping playing. Like, I love playing way too much, so I'm too selfish in that matter.
Glad to hear it. The league needs more personalities of players like yourself, Marina. Thanks again so very much for joining us tonight. Jason, do you have anything else you want to ask the guests?
Absolutely. So I was going to ask, do you have a British passport to try out for the women's team? So I know they had tryouts a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So no, I don't, but there's a possibility I could maybe get one, and my mom will probably comment on this, but my mom was born in Africa, and she took up British citizenship as a child. No, correct me if I'm wrong, Mom, but I think there's a way that I could, if she reinstates that passport, that I could say that my parent has a passport, and that might allow me to play.
Yes, it was, because your direct parent, you can get a passport. So tell your mom to get her passport done so you can get your passport.
Yeah, don't be selfish, Mom.
Yeah, come on. We'll get Aunt Tina on you, Mom. If you don't get
Yeah.
that
I
done.
know.
Yeah. Aunt Tina's going to kick your ass.
Because I think you'd be an asset for the team, and I really know Doris has poured her heart into the program, and I think it would be fantastic. We had someone from Scotland to represent that there, and again, I think it would be fantastic for the team. Also, how can you possibly be a Blue Jays fan so close to the Mariners?
Okay, well, here's the thing. So I don't know if you know this or if you experienced this while you're in Seattle, but when the Jays come to Seattle, everyone from Vancouver floods into Seattle, and it's like a home game for the Jays because everyone's like wearing their Blue Jays stuff. All the Canadians are there. We're all so excited to seeing each other in the streets, like, oh, hello at Pike Place and everything. So it's yes, I've seen a lot of Mariners games. I absolutely love the Mariners as well. Like, I can't lie, they'd be my second favorite, to be honest. But yeah, if the Jays are going to play there, I'm going to be rooting for the Jays.
Fair enough. It was interesting this year because I think the borders are still closed, so they couldn't actually come down for the game.
Yeah. So it's definitely a bummer for the Canadians there, but I'm sure they missed that a lot.
Yeah, I know. I have a couple of friends from Vancouver over here, and they're always like, "Yeah, I'm a huge Mariner fan until the Blue Jays are in town."
Yeah, exactly. Everyone switches. Yeah, it's classic.
So perfect. Well, brilliant. Thanks so much for coming on. It was absolutely fantastic chatting with you, and hope to see you in person and watch you play now.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said last week on show, I'm going to spend more time in Dundee than I'd like to next season. So I'll be a Tayport Breakers season ticket holder. I'll be expecting to see some good baseball every Sunday and every other Sunday. Again, thanks so much for joining us, Marina. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and catch you on the field next year.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Just hang around for a bit here as we wrap the show up. Again, tomorrow we've got an exciting show with Ren Quantrill. We'll be chatting about his time over with Team GB and catching up with him there. So yeah, lunchtime show tomorrow, 1 o'clock, doing live with Ren. So if you have any questions or just have nothing to do for lunch, come join us.
Yep, yeah, and if you have any questions you want to ask Ren about his time in the GB setup and won't be able to make tomorrow's show, just fire them to us either below this video or in a private message or an email to is it capsandpipes@gmail.com.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll see some of you tomorrow. If not, we'll be at the regular time next week, 9 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yep, thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Check us out on Facebook. It's at Caps and Pipes. Same on Twitter. Spotify, iTunes, and all the rest of it. The usual podcast platforms, you can find the audio version. Just search Ball Caps and Bagpipes. We have YouTube. Just search Ball Caps and Bagpipes there. Or go to linktree.com/caps and pipes. That's got all the different links that we've got. And we're working on updating that more. Thanks again for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow at lunchtime.